Welcome to episode 48 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Chandler Stevens. We'll get to her in a little bit. But first, I'm Ronnie, and here's Brian.
What's happening, y'all? This is going to be a fun one. From what I've heard of Chandler, it's going to be a cool interview. I'm excited for this one. But, other than that, weather's getting cooler up here up north. I even saw snowflakes were hitting the northern part of the country. Congratulations to them.
No.
And we're mighty close to your walking down the aisle day. Yeah.
So, COVID kind of put a little wrench in that plan. And now we're officially getting to the day. I mean, obviously we still had the wedding last year and all that. But this year's the party time, and this will come out Friday. So 2 days after this is when it'll happen. While that is exciting, big news, I feel like I want to take it off myself. And congratulations, we made it 2 years. We celebrated 2 years this week.
2 years. It's a bit of a shame that most of it was done over these video screens, but man, I'm glad that we were able to find a workaround and we kept it going after being so young and then as a podcast and then being thrown the pandemic. And it actually came out to be a better thing for us with us having the Zoom account and actually seeing these artists face to face. So yeah, dude, congrats.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, that when we started this, we were Skype phone calling, not even using Zoom, not doing this face-to-face. And, not to take anything away from those 10 to 12 episodes we did that way, but this makes a total difference, being able to see the person and all that. And not only for that purpose, but then for us, we're able to schedule more and more freely than having to find the time to sit in the room together. It's been a blessing and a curse, I guess, that this happened. And
man, we got to really shout out to those beginning, whatever 10 it was that we did, to trust them for just sending out their phone numbers to us.
That too. It was like, hey, you want to be on? Yeah, here's my number. What? But goes back to show that we've had some great guests on and hopefully continue to do so. And everybody's been fantastic so far. And it's been a hell of a 2 years and many, many more to come.
Yeah, man.
Normally we do this at the end of the episodes, but seeing as we're not doing news and all that fun stuff in between, we will get to Chandler shortly. But we have our Boots of Europe October Single of the Month winner. I almost said this month for October, the winner is Jake Lindholm, Ride On.
As the storm rained down, lightning flew from the sky. I took one eye for a run, and it might be wrong, but I can't say goodbye when the love we feel ain't gone, so we ride on.
All right, so that was Ride On, and hell of a song, and a Swedish singer-songwriter there too. So I can't say it enough that it's fantastic that we're hearing music from around the world and getting to enjoy it as much as we are. I do want to touch though on the runner-up. So this month was very close. There was a lot of voting this month, and everybody showed up and did their part and promoted it, and X, Y, and Z. And going back to those early guests, our, I believe, episode 12 guest, Raquel de Souza, came in a very close second with her song, Love Me Right. So definitely go check that out. It's on Spotify and all that. Congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, awesome song. Congratulations to Jake. International winner. It's crazy, man. And huge congrats to Raquel for coming in that close second. Great music around the world again.
All right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go to our interview with Chandler.
Cool.
All right, everyone. We're here today with Chandler Stevens. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Chandler.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you, get to know about you a little bit and your music and, what you're all about. So, like I said at the start of this, we always like to start with who you are, where you grew up, how important music was in your household, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I am from Lake Mary, Florida, which is like 30 minutes from Orlando, which people normally know Orlando. So I usually say Orlando area. They're like, okay, yeah, we know where that is. Disney World. I'm like, yeah, that's Disney World. But I mean, I started singing in church when I was like 3 years old. And I always just like really loved music. I mean, and never really saw it as like a career path though. I was just like, oh, I really love this. I'm just going to, I'll sing in church, I'll sing in choir, I'll sing in school, talent shows, things like that. But I never was like, oh, I'm going to try and do music as, a living. And my household, my parents were like, major music fans. My mom actually had a band at one point when I was growing up. I think I was in maybe like right before middle school, maybe like elementary school. She was in a band and she just like, she loved 80s rock music. So I got really into that. My dad really liked Motown. So I got really into that as well. So I kind of had like all over the spectrum, but I really always loved country music because it was just so real and so authentic. And the stories were just, I don't know. It was just like, I really that was the genre that I connected with the most. How I got here, I guess, because I guess I did eventually decide that it was a career that I wanted to choose. I had a year of college and I was like, I studied psychology because I come from a really big family. And a lot of adopted siblings. So psychology was very interesting to me because they were all from different backgrounds. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to study this. Maybe I'll be, a counselor. And I was there and I was like, this is just not like cutting it for me. Like I have to do music. Like if I don't try now, I never will. And then I'll look back and regret that I never tried. Mm-hmm. So I moved to Nashville.
Yeah. So I did want to touch on that you do come from quite a large family. How, other than going to school for psychology and things like that, like, how do you feel that might have shaped you, not just you as a person, but then also how you approach music and bring it into your everyday life now?
Yeah. I would say like, for me, it started when I was like really young. So it was always very just kind of normal to me. It became very normal. Like my parents were like, oh, we're, this kid's going to come into our home and they're most likely going to, be here, and be your sibling. And it was just kind of like, it happened. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like another sibling, another person to like hang out with. Like, this is great.
Can I ask it's you and your brother and then as you said, more siblings coming in. So how old were you when like that was starting to happen?
I was 7 when they brought my oldest brother in. I think I was around 7 years old and he was never adopted, but like my parents just took him as like, they were a guardian to him. Yeah. And I was like around 7. And then when they started adopting, I was around like 9 years old. My sister and my brother from Russia, they started adopting them when I was 9. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I was reading up on your profile and stuff, I was like wow, that's like a really cool thing. I mean, we see adoptions becoming more and more common, I guess is the right word. So, it's cool that your family had that and you were able to intertwine with other cultures. You mentioned Russia and, that had to have been good for you in the sense that you're now like getting the world at home and, kind of, I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, with that many people, you're obviously gonna have normal families have their share of drama and kids not getting along and things like that. Obviously you're gonna have that. So it's like multiplied by a lot with that many people, but you learn a lot, you learn a lot. You're, I don't know, you learn how to like, communicate with people and just kind of figure things out, So it was a good experience for sure.
Yeah. It had to have been neat to, I'm guessing you were still pretty young, but to have those different, how old were your siblings when they were adopted? Were you able to learn like their culture type of thing?
I was with, my two siblings from Russia. Yeah. They were, 11 and 13, I want to say, when they came into our family. And so neither of them spoke English. They only spoke Russian. So they had to learn English. I think my brother spoke a little bit of English, but not, enough to, communicate with us. Right. And so they had to learn English. And just like we would eat Russian food a lot. Like there was this Russian market, like that was like maybe 20 minutes from our house. And my parents would always take them there and get all like their food from, their culture. Cause they felt like home, they wanted to make them feel like, they were at home. So yeah, I learned a lot about that. It was cool.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned going to school and then eventually deciding that music was going to be what you wanted and moving to Nashville. Was there like a moment that you ultimately knew that this was the move, or was it kind of just something that happened over time?
Well, when I was in college, I got into like music when I was there, because like there is a music program there and things like that. And there was a lot of people doing music there. And so I started to do music more than I like was in the past. And I was just like, I don't know, there was just a point where I think it was after my first semester, I was like, there's other people trying to do this. Why shouldn't I try? Like I gotta try. And that was the end of 2012. And I moved to Nashville May of 2013. So
I'm assuming it's been going pretty well, that it's been 7-8 years now that you're settled in, you're liking it, and it's working for you.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely like, I feel like moving here was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. Cause you hear, how it used to be is like, you do a demo and you like go and shop labels, Music Row. You're like, okay, like this is my stuff. Like, this is who I am. Like, and they're like, oh, we like you. We'll sign you. Oh no. Like, right. We don't really like you. So I thought like, it's going to be like that. Okay. Go to Nashville, write some songs, do a demo and shop labels. It's not how it was at all. So I was like, all right, well, this is going to be, a little bit of a learning curve. And I think too, like finding yourself as an artist is also a really big part of it. And at least for me, I didn't know who I was when I first moved. Like I had no idea who I was as an artist or what I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. So I had to go through the process for a little while of figuring that out,
And going through that process, was that through songwriting with other co-writes and stuff like that, where you kind of found that avenue of where you wanted to be?
Yeah, definitely. Co-writes were a big part of it. Just like what I wanted my sound to be, what I wanted to say, and co-writing with people really helped me figure that out.
I think that before we actually dive into talking about music and your songs particular and your career in particular, maybe we should go now to playing the song that we have for you. So that way, the listeners get to hear you and then we could talk about it. So why don't you go ahead and introduce the song for us and then we'll talk about it when we come back.
Okay. This is Raised by a Working Man. And this is my current single out right now on Spotify, Apple Music. So if y'all like it, go check it out.
I was raised She's the daughter of a working man. I'm a little bit Southern belle, yeah. I'm a little bit of brown-eyed hell. Fire me off like a shotgun shell. I'm a little bit Southern belle. Push me down, but you can't hold me under. 'Cause I was raised like a lightning and thunder. I'm gonna make it, no, I don't have to wonder if I can. 'Cause I was raised by a working man. I'm an old school radio, vinyl cracking on the stereo. I miss Loretta and the stories she told. I'm an old school radio. Push me down, but you can't hold me under. 'Cause I was raised like a lightning and thunder. I'm gonna make it, no, I don't have to wonder if I can. 'Cause I was raised by a working man. Push me down, but you can't hold me under. 'Cause I was raised like a lightning and thunder. I'm gonna make it, no, I don't have to wonder. Push me down, but you can't hold me under. 'Cause I was raised like lightning and thunder. I'm gonna make it, no, I don't have to wonder if I can. 'Cause I was raised by a working
All right, so that was Raised by a Working Man, and let's talk about it in, that song in particular. So what was the inspiration behind that song, writing it, releasing it, the whole nine yards?
Yeah. I wrote that song in 2015. No. Yes, 2015. And I just went into the session and really wanted to write a song about my dad and just thanking him for how he raised me, and just kind of as a tribute to him. And and we just kind of went through like the things that we just kind of went through the person my dad was, and just things that he taught me, and came up with Raised by a Working Man.
Yeah, I really like this song. We were talking about it before we went live, and it's such, it has many folds to it, because like you're really appreciative, but it's also like this is like a female power song too. Like I'm never gonna back down type of thing, and I love it. Yeah. I want to congratulate you. This is a really, really good song.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I took from it too that like obviously I can't side with the female empowerment side of it, but I hopefully we've all had someone, whether it's a father or a older brother or uncle, somebody in our lives that has set a good example and helped us along our way, and I definitely got that out of this, and I was saying that I very much appreciated that. For me, it was my stepdad was in my life most out of everybody, and so I had that. He worked hard. He showed up every day. He showed up at night and helped put dinner together and not just expected it. And like those things. So I took that from my perspective of it. But yeah, no, I mean, I love this song as well.
Yeah, so thank you.
So you put this out with kind of a EP of sorts of a handful of songs over the past couple of years and continuing. One of which was Boys of Summer, which, you know, everybody knows that song, and your version of it, your rendition of it, that's the word? Your rendition of it is fantastic. I am a huge fan of that song in general, and
Yeah.
you did it well. But then everything since then has been originals and your stuff. So kind of take us through that songwriting process and, you know, what that looks like to you and, you know, how you got some of these songs down.
Yeah. I knew that I wanted to, you know, write for a new project. And I guess when I go in to do that, it's just like, I have a lot of different ideas that are kind of floating around. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to write like these ideas into different songs. And then how it turns out, I guess, is how I choose which song. Like if I like the song, I'm like, all right, I want to cut this one. If I don't like it, then I'm like, all right, that idea didn't really pan out the way that I wanted it to. And for this one, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the songs I guess I just wanted to kind of tell people who I was, because I've released music before and I've liked all the songs that I've put out, but it didn't really feel like me, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't really how I wanted, I guess, to be, you know, heard. And these last, I think 5 songs I've released so far, just each of them kind of tell a little bit about me. Like I have Sunshine State, which is about like, you know, cause I'm from Florida and I wrote it based off of that. And we wanted it to be like a fun love beach song. But it also has like, you know, the elements of like, oh, I love for, you know, my home state, and Bet on You, just about following your dreams and betting on yourself, you know, cause I feel like that's what you know, anybody who's following their dreams is betting on themselves, you know? And I feel like I wanted to encourage other people to do that as well. It's not always an easy road. Most of the time, it's not an easy road, but it's rewarding once you decide to do that, because you know that you're trying, you know, and I think that that's really important. So.
Yeah. So I'm curious too. So you mentioned that you put out music before this project and getting all this stuff together. Being in Nashville since 2013. So I guess where I'm going with this is the social media side of what the business looks like now. So 2013, yeah, everything was around. Facebook was definitely around. But Instagram, I guess, was kind of, maybe that's like right about when it started.
It was new.
How have you seen like the importance of social media to, you know, being able to put out your music like this and yeah.
Well, it has changed, I feel like, drastically from when I first moved here. Like social media was something that they were like, oh yeah, do it. But I mean, it wasn't what mattered most. I feel like now social media matters most, especially for independent artists, because that's a way that we have direct connection to fans. Mm-hmm. And it's a way you can reach more people with, you know, more things. And so it's like, I mean, it's changed drastically. Like I'm not the best at social media. I never have been, but it's what matters. It's what matters now. And so you just gotta do it. You know, TikTok is just like a whole nother world. And that has just, I mean, it's just crazy. Like what people have accomplished via TikTok. Like it's insane. I mean, it's great, but it's just crazy.
Yeah, for me personally, it is a lot of platforms to try to stay up to date with and everything. And I, after having a son, I basically like stopped doing social media and everything. I mean, it takes such a back seat. But I could imagine it as a career tool. I think it's perfect. For you to, do you ever like try testing out material on social media?
I do. Yes. I'm getting more into that now. Yeah. I didn't really do it much before, but, I've seen it work for a lot of people. I mean, it works really well. People test their stuff and then people are like, either they're like, meh, we don't really like that. Or they're like, oh, we love this. And it helps you figure out like what people want to hear, which is really nice, because before you were just kind of like, I love this. Hope you do too.
That's interesting that you put it that way, because, well, so one, I do all our social media, and it drives me insane how like often I have to keep up with things and respond to things. And but to what you just said about testing the waters and putting a song out, and if the response isn't as good, you don't so much go for it. But at the same time, like, doesn't that kind of take away from you and what you want to do? Not saying you in particular, I'm just saying in general. Like, I don't know. I guess that's a little bit of a blessing and a curse. That
that's true. It does take away that. And I've never really thought about it like that, but it does. You're right. It does, because it's like, I really like this song, but nobody else really likes it. So I guess I won't release it. Or you can or if you get to a certain, I guess, career level, you can just be like, I'm going to release this because I like it. And maybe there'll be some people that like it. Maybe there'll be some people that won't, but I mean, just release it. So
yeah, back in the day, those were called B-side tracks.
yeah, exactly.
To kind of finish up on social media, I guess. So I listen to a lot of random podcasts and things like that as well. And one of them is Victory, the podcast, which is the guys from Entourage from HBO back in the day. Mm-hmm. And they had a casting director on it. So obviously it has nothing to do with music, but it's interesting and it might translate, which is crazy to think about. This casting director was talking about the importance of social media in acting right now. And a lot of casting directors and a lot of film will cast their movies based on follow count, not based on talent. So they'll somebody with 1 million followers, they're like, oh yeah, they're going to be great, and the movie will bomb. And they'll be like, what happened?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, and I don't know. I mean, I guess if I think about it, it probably does happen in certain areas, but I'm hoping that music is a little more evolved than that you can't rely on that. But,
Yeah, I think it is. I guess I understand it from a standpoint of like, oh, you think more people will watch this movie because this person who has 1 million followers is in it. But at the same time, it's like, they're going to want the quality of the movie to be good. Like, just because they like this person on here doesn't mean that they're going to like their acting.
Yeah. Well, that's the, but like they could, you edit your videos that you put on social media. You could take 15 takes of it before you put it on. So then, I mean, just pulling something off the top of my head, but Legends Corner calls you and says, hey, you have 1 million followers, come play. And then you stand there like, what? It's crazy how social media has driven our world now. I don't know. That's a whole conversation in itself. But so you mentioned that, you moved to Nashville in 2013. We always like to ask if there's a piece of advice that you wish someone had given you early in your career, or maybe something you've learned along the way that you wish you knew earlier. Does anything come to mind when you think about that?
I feel like, I guess, just trust the process. Because for me, I thought it was going to be an instant thing, and we live in an instant world anyways now. But I thought it was going to be like, oh, I move here, I know exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And it's going to be like, but you have, I don't know, there's a growing process that takes place. And I think it needs to take place, and I mean, as an artist, I feel like you're constantly growing anyways, but just being somebody who just, was like, oh, decided I'm going to do music and then moved here, there's definitely a process to it, and just trust the process and don't give up, because there's been lots of times that I've sat here and I'm like, man, like, am I really doing the right thing? Like, because things, it's ups and downs, and it's just, it's a difficult ride, but just trust the process and don't give up.
Yeah. I mean, again, back to social media, that everything is so instant. So yeah, it's important that you work at it and if it came easy, everybody would do it. And if it came easy, there's no like fulfillment feeling at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a handful of times too. It's like the easier or the quicker something happens, then normally the quicker it ends, right? So the longer it takes you to grind that out and everything, that's you just building that foundation. Once that foundation's up and it's strong, it's harder to knock it down. So once you reach that level, man, it really matters. And taking that long, gradual work, though, sometimes rocks fall. I mean, you're still going up. So, yeah. I mean, I think that's great advice is to just nose down, keep grinding.
So I believe I read somewhere on your website that you worked with Kane Brown as well. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, I did in 2016. We wrote a couple songs and I recorded one of them, and I released it on Valentine's Day of that year, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 2016. So I guess that was kind of pre him blowing up a little bit too. So, like how did that environment happen? Like, did you just run into him right away?
No. The person I was working with at the time was also working with him, and he was like, there's this guy, Kane. He has a really good voice and he's really different. I really think it'd be cool if you guys did a collaboration. So, we got together and with like two different co-writers, 2 different days, and just wrote some songs. And then, really loved Can't Stop Love. I really loved the other one as well. And I'm possibly releasing it next year, but this, it just it kind of came together, and it was really cool. And it was really cool to work with him. And he was blowing up on social media, and it was like right around the time that they were looking to sign him and things like that. So his life was crazy at the time, but it was really cool to get to do that with him.
Yeah, and that's Can't Stop Love, which is everywhere. It's on your Spotify, Apple, all that. So everyone should definitely go check that out, as well as everything else. 2021 is it's kind of over at this point, I guess. So rest of the year, early next year, any big plans coming down the line?
I have a couple things in the works right now that I'm excited about. I have a song that I've been kind of a little bit teasing on social media that I'm going to release probably like middle of next year, maybe. But then I have another one that I'm going to release probably in February. But I haven't really teased that one at all.
Yeah, we're excited for definitely new music, and the stuff you have released has been really cool. I think that Boys of Summer, your take on that is awesome. I want to say it's the first time I've ever heard a female sing that song. I don't know if anybody else has, or if I've never really heard it. So I think what you did to it was wicked cool. Do you want to let the listeners know where they can find you online, websites, stuff like that?
Yes. Chandler Stevens Music is all of my socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is Steph Music, and my website is chandlerstevens.com.
Awesome.
Cool. I guess last question is to close up then. Obviously things are opening back up and now that hopefully, knock on wood, COVID's on the downslope. Gigging, you around town, what are you doing for shows these days?
I've really just been doing a lot of writers rounds or acoustic shows around Nashville, hoping next year to venture out into maybe Kentucky, North Carolina, surrounding Tennessee areas, maybe Georgia, hopefully, and definitely possibly going to home state, so Florida. So we'll see.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm sure all that stuff gets posted on your website and social media and stuff. So everybody out there, definitely go follow and like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And yeah, Chandler, it was a pleasure getting to know you and talking with you. And we, I piggyback Ryan that everything has been so good so far, and we cannot wait to continue to watch what you put out. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you, guys. It's been nice talking to y'all too.
All right, so that was our interview with Chandler Stevens. And yeah, I mean, Brian, from coming from such a large family, and as you kind of touched on it a little bit, definitely got to see the world in her little Lake Mary, Florida backyard. And, definitely, yeah, I don't know. I think that's so cool that she was able to take that with her. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it was really fun. She is definitely a really good songwriter, an amazing singer, and extremely talented. So she's definitely has the right mindset of trusting the format, trusting that road that she's on, and I see nothing but good stuff for her. Her singles that she's released have been awesome. So hopefully everyone goes and checks those out.
Yeah, no, I think. We said it in the interview there that, she's been in Nashville for 8-9 years now, or, whatever it is, 7, 8, 9. And, trusting the process and hitting the pavement and getting these songs out. And yeah, they've been fantastic. And I can only imagine that they're going to continue to be just as good, if not better.
We definitely want to thank Chandler Stevens for coming on Outside the Circle. Be sure to follow her on all of her social media and music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with Chandler Stevens, Sunshine State.